One of the most important factors in being successful on a carnivore diet long term is making it work within your day-to-day life. I've been on a carnivore diet for over 7 years now, and sometimes my day-to-day life looks like a perfectly fresh grilled steak. Sometimes my day-to-day life is traveling all over the country and eating fast food burger patties, and sometimes my day-to-day life is 8 hours of back-to-back meetings and reheating some leftovers. And that's what today looks like. I have been working nonstop all day. I didn't get a lunch break. I don't have time to make myself a fresh grilled meal, but I do have time to reheat some leftovers. Microwaving leftovers doesn't always sound the most appetizing, yet it is really budget friendly and it's really convenient. So today we are gonna take this leftover chuck roast, we're gonna zhuzh it up and make it a little more appetizing for my meal. Okay, before we dive in, I wanna let you know that this video is sponsored by Element. You guys already know I drink Element every single day. I always start my morning with the pack of the unflavored Element. I put it in my water and I drink it as I get ready. And we're still in the thick of summer here in Arizona, so I am currently adding a second packet. Also, if I'm doing any type of intermittent fasting or even extended fasting to just help with weight loss, I'm always gonna be adding a second packet. I loved the lemonade flavor that they had out this summer, and I also really love the grapefruit flavor. Adding that extra packet, especially when I'm fasting, really helps keep me hydrated. It helps me avoid any type of muscle cramps or headaches, and it just helps to kind of keep me from getting too hungry, and it makes fasting so much easier for me. We are such a big fan of Element, and I also love that they have a 100% money back guarantee, so there is no risk to trying out one of their flavors, or you can stick to unflavored if you don't want any sweeteners. If you want to get a free sample pack, you can go to drinkelement.com/LAURAESPATH. They have a deal there for all my subscribers where you can get this free sample pack of their most popular flavors with any purchase. Thanks to Element for sponsoring this video. The leftovers that we're using today come from a chuck roast that I made a couple of days ago. We love chuck roast in our family. It is budget friendly, it is versatile. You always can find it on sale. There's so many things you can do with it. We smoke it, we make shredded beef. I have recipes on here where you can make tacos out of the shredded beef. Like, you can just reverse sear it and eat it like a steak. You could do so many different things with it. And the good thing too is that usually we can get several meals out of it, especially if I cook a couple at a time. The challenge though is that it's really good the first day. I still like it the second day, but by the third day, I'm just really over microwaved, warmed up chuck roast. And I just don't really know what to do with it. And I hear this a lot, like especially beef. I don't mind chicken reheated. I don't mind a lot of other meats reheated, but for some reason, just microwaved beef is very unappetizing to me. And so we are gonna mix up how we reheat this leftover chuck roast today and make it a lot more appetizing. This will work with any chuck roast, but for this specific one, I seasoned it with only salt. If you're gonna be reheating this for leftovers, I like to just keep the meat really plain. Same thing with like a big pork roast. I season it with just salt, really good on all sides. And then as I'm reheating it on different days, sometimes I can add different seasonings or different sugar-free sauces to mix up the flavor. Also, if you're gonna do any type of reverse sear and sear the outside of your piece of meat, you wanna keep your seasonings to only salt, or when you sear it, the other seasonings like garlic, for instance, are gonna burn and it's just gonna leave you with like a really bitter taste on your meat. I seared this on all sides and then I inserted my meat thermometer, which I'll use just to keep an eye on the internal temperature so I know when it's gonna be nice and tender and shreds apart perfectly. I also added a little bit of bone broth. You could use water just to keep it very strict carnivore, or you could obviously make your own bone broth. I just like the convenience of and the flavor of the store-bought broth. I cover it about halfway up with the broth, and then it went into the oven at 325, and the time is gonna depend on the size of your chuck roast. Obviously, I just keep an eye on my meat thermometer and the app, and it's gonna tell me exactly when it's gonna be finished. In this case, since it was a smaller chuck roast, it only took about 2 hours for it to get to that like 204-degree internal temperature that I was looking for, which then makes it like really tender and shreddable. And at this point, here we are 3 days later, and I'm really ready for something new. First thing I'm gonna do is I am going to heat this up in a skillet with some extra fat in order to give it really good flavor and really good texture. We mostly use animal fats for cooking just to avoid any seed oils, and so I'm gonna put a little bit of this Golden Age Fats tallow before I put my meat in. Tallow has a really high smoke point, so it's not gonna burn and you're not gonna get that burn flavor, and then this is just a really clean flavor. Some tallows or ghees have a pretty grassy taste to it, so I like one that has a more mild, almost like flavorless flavor. I'm gonna give this a little chop, and we're gonna keep some of this like collagen and fat that was already in there, and we're gonna use that to reheat it. You don't have to use any seasonings. We could keep it just with the salt that's there, and obviously that's gonna keep it like 100% carnivore. But I do love adding, especially on leftovers, a little taco seasoning, and we're gonna make ourselves a little breakfast taco here. So I have some of the Redmond Real Salt taco seasoning, which is really clean. And so I'm just going to put about a tablespoon of this taco seasoning in with my beef. Okay, my beef is nice and reheated. It smells like barbacoa or some type of like shredded beef tacos. But my favorite thing to mix with leftover meat that I'm reheating to kind of change up the flavor profile from what I had yesterday is eggs. So it's really not that revolutionary, but we are gonna make like a really delicious breakfast bowl. So we're gonna put a couple of eggs. Really just depends on how hungry you are. So we're gonna go with 3 eggs. And I am going to, I think just for the sake of efficiencies, sometimes I would pull out this beef and then just reuse the same pan, but just to do it faster for you guys, I'm gonna do it in a separate pan. I'm gonna make myself some scrambled eggs. While my eggs are cooking, we are gonna go full breakfast taco mode, and I am gonna make myself a cheese shell. I'm just gonna take some mozzarella cheese and sprinkle about 1/4 cup of it onto a piece of parchment paper, and we're gonna put it in the microwave. On my shredded beef taco video, I have like 2 different ways you could do these cheese shells, and it kind of breaks down the instructions in a little more detail. Also, if you're dairy free, you could just make yourself a breakfast bowl and it's gonna be just as delicious. I'm gonna limit myself and have 1 cheese shell, and then the rest of it I'll just eat in a bowl. Something else that actually would make a really delicious taco shell is if you have any deli meat, like sliced turkey, sliced chicken, or I happen to have some Black Forest ham. You could fry this in a skillet and then fill the contents from your eggs and your beef and put them in here and give yourself like a meat shell too. That would be delicious, but I'm gonna go with cheese today. One tip that I heard that changed the way that I seasoned my eggs forever, and it's made a big difference actually, is wait until your eggs are fully cooked and then give them a little sprinkle of salt at the end, and it will keep your eggs fluffier and more tender versus getting stiffer. If you salt your raw eggs and then cook them, for some reason, it makes them tougher, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's a very good tip, and I can tell a huge difference. Okay, there is my cheese shell. We're gonna throw it in here for it to harden and get its shape. Okay, it is time to assemble our bowl. I need like an island or something to do this. So we're gonna dump in a bed of scrambled eggs. I then am going to put in my leftover chuck roast. Look at that, that looks so good. Some of this beef is really crispy and has such a good flavor. You could stop right here. It's 100% carnivore and it tastes totally different. It's brand new. Or you get a little crazy and you can make a taco. Okay, look at that. We have eggs, cheese, chuck roast. You even could, if we're going dirty carnivore, we might as well add a little squirt of sour cream on there. And I've been very bold lately in trying to open my mind up to more seasonings or spices. Chris loves spicy food. I'm trying, which I'm not very good. So we'll add like a couple little dollops of, this is just Tapatio, which I'm told is not actual hot sauce. But how you react to seasonings and sauces and stuff like that is really gonna be personal. Some people are not gonna tolerate it well, but it's something that we've been able to have pretty much our whole journey and had great results. So look at that breakfast taco. Oh. Come on, really? This is leftovers, come on. Let me know in the comments below, what is more appetizing, my delicious breakfast taco or some leftover chuck roast? Or, actually this looks really good. This is good too. So we're gonna eat this over top of here. I'm gonna eat both of these and then I'm going to get back to work. Follow me for more revolutionary meal ideas. Cheers.